There's only one that has words for the Ten Commandments, and it's not even right. One of the commandments isn't real, and it's missing the "you shan't make unto thee any graven images." You know what? What the hell is going on with this one? Let's go back. I'm gonna do the one. It's the words. It's wrong. That's not the words. I gotta get going. I'm sorry. I thought that this idea would be really funny, ranking the Ten Commandments, because I was thinking about them a little bit today. And they're not made equal, all these commandments. I don't want to spoil too much, but for example, thou shalt not kill, I think is a little bit more important than some of these other ones. So let's open with, I am the Lord thy God. Now, it makes sense that you, as like the omnipotent being, would open with like, I am the Lord your God, you shouldn't have any other gods. But as like a commandment for a better life, I don't know. I wouldn't start that hard. I want you to prove to me that you're the Lord my God, right? Because you're saying like you're opening with that, and then you're like you shouldn't make any other false idols and stuff like that. It's just like you must dedicate yourself to me, and I don't. It's not an energy that I like. I'm going to put that in the C tier for now. We'll see if I move it around. There's a lot of tiers here, um, so I think that yeah, we'll see. 5 tiers for 10 commandments. That's a lot. We'll see if I stick with them. The second one is thou shalt not make any graven images, any false idols. But there are no false idols, right? There's covet thy neighbor's goods. We'll get back to that. Thou shalt not take my Lord's name in vain. I mean, I had a problem with I am the Lord my God, but once again, as if you want everyone to worship you, that's a reasonable thing to say. That's why it's in the C tier. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Come on. That's going in the D tier. I know that there's a lot of people out there who believe very strongly in taking the Lord's name and not taking the Lord's name in vain, but I don't know. It's like it's someone who they have a YouTube channel and they turn off comments because they don't want to hear the negative things that people have to say about him. I say you gotta man up a little bit, okay? Especially if you're going around, you're wiping out Sodom, you're wiping out Gomorrah, you're killing a bunch of people. You have to be able to take a little bit of criticism. So thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. I think that's going in the D tier. That's a sign of it's a sign of weakness. I think God's gonna give the other gods the ick. You know what I'm saying? The next one, remember the Sabbath, keep the Sabbath day holy. I mean, thinking about it, actually, like you could be like, oh, it's a little silly. You might be thinking about the Big Lebowski, like I'm not gonna bowl on Shabbos, but this is kind of like if everyone is supposed to worship you and everyone has to listen to you, this is like a mandatory weekend, no? Like it's one day a week, the Sabbath. Yeah, it's to worship me. But like you're kneeling, you're standing up, you're sitting down, you're kneeling, you're standing up, you're sitting down at mass. Like that is more restful than toiling on the fields, in Mesopotamia or whatever. I actually, thinking about it, it's like take a day off. Obviously, it's to worship him, but if he has our best interests in mind, I think that honor the Sabbath, um, the mandatory weekend element, I'm going to put it in the B tier for now. I feel like I've been a little critical of God and his commandments so far. I'm going to put it there. Once again, I'm sorry that the idol is not here, but regardless. Honor thy father and mother. Now this one, you can make fun of it, of course, but I think that this generally works in a similar function to the honor the Sabbath, right? If you're growing up religious, you hear honor thy father and mother, and they're just like, no, I can't come up off the top of the dome piece of a funny name for back then, but like, no, Joey, you can't be going out past nightfall. It's very dangerous out here. Like, if someone were to kill you, like 3,000 years ago, like today's 3,000 years ago, there's no freaking way anyone's gonna figure out who did it or why. Like, crimes can just happen to you, right? It's dangerous outside. It's dark, and you'd be like, no, I don't want to. But God says, honor thy father and mother. I could see that being helpful, at least at the time that it came out. And then obviously, I don't know. I think that honor thy father and mother, that is actually, I'll put that around honor the Sabbath. I know you might be calling me a little cringe for putting it in B tier. But I can definitely see the value, particularly if everyone's going to be growing up Christian, because I am the Lord God and you have to worship me and stuff. Thou shalt not kill. I mean, that's going in the S tier. You shouldn't kill, right? Just don't do it. Thou shalt not kill. That's a good one. I wish that wasn't number 6 on the Ten Commandments. To me, that seems like a number 1 that you shouldn't kill, but we'll take the wins where we can count. And after that, we have thou shalt not commit adultery. And we also have covet thy neighbor's wife later, which it's 2 things that are the same, right? But both of these, I gotta say, yeah, you should commit adultery. That's a good one too. I definitely believe in that. And what else is there to say? I'm not an adultery defender. Sorry. Thou shalt not steal. Now this one's a little tricky. Maybe at patch 1.0 of the Ten Commandments when they were released, like if you steal, you're only stealing from like some guy down the street, right? You're not stealing from there's no targets back at the time of the Ten Commandments and so on. I think that thou shalt not steal at the time of release was a very good it's a very good commandment, but even we're talking about French Revolution, Jean Valjean, but even now, it gets a little trickier, right? You have a family, you're a single income household, you don't have very much money, you go to a Target, and at the Target checkout you've got all your goods, and it's a self checkout, and not only that, but there's nobody anywhere near the registers to even see you self-checking out and making sure that you're doing it fine. Nobody's checking your receipt. If someone in that situation were to be like, I'm just gonna pocket this thing of apples, and I'm gonna pocket this thing of bread too, and I'm not gonna pay for them. I don't think that belongs on the same list as thou shalt not kill or thou shalt not commit adultery. There's definitely a gradient to theft. And to put it onto one of these ones that's just like set in stone or something, it is wrong. It is wrong. But it's a little tricky. It's a little more complicated. I'm gonna put it above I am the Lord thy God. Okay. Thou shalt not bear witness against thy neighbor. And so this is, well, one could say lie, but this isn't saying you should not lie. I gotta look at me. I forgot to put on do not disturb, so the text message did not show up. You cannot see what it is. It's a TikTok. I don't know what it is. I'm curious now, though. I'd share it if it were requested, but thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Now, this does not say do not lie. When you're growing up, particularly if you're growing up Catholic, and because that's what I did, so I don't know alternate experiences. This is converted to thou shalt not lie, as you are being lied to about the existence of Santa Claus and so on and so forth. But that's not what this commandment says. This says thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, which is lying particularly to harm someone else. And you can you're probably imagining a court case, but just in general, thou shalt not lie to harm someone. I don't know. Like, what I'm trying to get at is that's a good one. I'm gonna put that in the A tier for now, just because it doesn't see like thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill. Those are always set in stone. Great. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. I think that's also a great commandment. But we've got an A tier here, and there's only so much room in the S tier. So thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. So coveting thy neighbor's wife is definitely not as bad as adultery. If you're like you see, if you're ever at a 4-way stop and there's a woman walking along the street, and then on the car across from you see like a man and a woman in the car, the dude's always looking. Are you gonna be like, that's as bad as adultery? No, you gotta be killing me, right? So, but Is that violating the Ten Commandments that much? I don't know where the line is drawn. That's because this isn't even on the commandments, right? This is a fake commandment. But let's pretend that it is. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Like you shouldn't see, if you're married, you shouldn't see a neighbor's wife and wish that they were your own or something like that. Um, yeah, I don't believe that that's a grave sin, but I am a believer in that you should love the one that you're with. Um, like when I'm talking with my fiance about people, like we can talk about, ooh, I wish we had Adam Driver here right now, stuff like that. It's not, but that's not her like actually coveting Adam Driver, wishing that I could be replaced with Adam Driver. It's just she's acknowledging a natural attraction to her. But if we're talking about like wishing that you could replace your significant other with another person, I don't know. I believe that you should love the one that you're with. Um, but it's not a Ten Commandment. I'm not going to put it on the list. That would be disingenuous of me. By the way, thou shalt not make idols or the graven images. That goes straight in D tier. If that were here, the false idols thing. I mean, come on. They made like a cool golden calf. It's like a symbol. Once again, I'm Catholic, right? We've got. If you go to a Catholic church, I've been to Rome. If you go into any church there, you've got millions of dollars of marble, Caravaggio paintings that he slaved over for forever that are just gorgeous, massive landscapes and portraits all over the place. All that stained glass. I think those are kind of somewhat graven images, right? Like some of them depict God, some of them don't. We love our graven images in the Catholic Church, don't we, folks? So I think that one is a whole load of BS. That one goes below "Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain." That goes in the invisible F tier. Now let's finish this bad boy off. "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods." So you shouldn't see someone who's wealthy and be like jealous. Like, no, fuck off. Like that seems like a commandment where it's just like be happy with your place. I'm thinking back to like medieval times with like the feudal system and so on. You have like the serfs, the lords, and you remember the whole thing. And it's like described. I've heard it once described as like an egg. It's a delicate egg, and the shell that's keeping it all together is religion. It's the system of you got to be happy with your lot in life, right? You don't sin, and then God will reward you at the end. You shouldn't, don't covet your wealthy neighbor's goods, even if, no, I think that you can covet your neighbor's goods. You shouldn't, like, don't, I mean, this is why it's not a good commandment, right? Like, you shouldn't fixate on wishing that you had other stuff. You shouldn't, I believe that you shouldn't go into debt, like credit card debt, to try to purchase some of your neighbor's goods. But to be jealous of the stuff that other people have, that can be a motivator when you're growing up, right? You're going through school. You don't care about school. You don't really care about what work you're going to be doing. But you might know, like, one day, even if it's silly, one day I want a Bumblebee Camaro. Like a yellow Camaro with 2 black racing stripes. And that motivated you to work a little bit harder in algebra class. Like, I'm perfectly fine with that. I would be like, that's a violation of one of the 10 deadly sins. What the hell is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods? What kind of commandment's that? I'm putting that also here, and that's not below where idol would be, right? Like or I could put it all together here. You can see it all. That's not where I put the "thou shalt not make any false idols." To me, that one's insanity. But here we go. This is proud. I think this is where I'm going to end up putting it. You can imagine the false idol one at the bottom. So we've got an S tier: "Thou shalt not kill" and "Thou shalt not commit adultery." I think that those are good commandments. I don't. Tell me if you disagree. If you should kill or cheat on your spouse. "Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor." I think that's pretty fucked up, but it's not as like set in stone as those first two. Like bearing false witness against thy neighbor seems that no, it's in the A tier. Okay, I just don't think it's as good of a commandment as thou shalt not kill and thou shalt not commit adultery. Like those two are bangers. It's not mid. It's just good. B tier, we have honor thy father and mother and honor the Sabbath. I know that you might be like both of these are pretty silly. I think honor thy father and mother. It's not a bad one to have in there, right? Because like obviously you can. I'm it's I'm sure that God understands that if they're insane, you don't have to follow their every whim when you're an adult. But like when you're a kid, if you want to misbehave or do something dangerous, it's something good to pull from your parents. Could be like, you're supposed to. God says you got to honor thy father and mother, and it could be they could use it to be saving you. Because when you're a kid, you're stupid, and your parents have a bit more wisdom than you. I'm sorry if that's if I shouldn't say anything like that. Thou shalt honor the Sabbath. I don't mind that one either. Because in the end, that turns into you get a mass for a week. Yeah, you do that. You're sitting and standing. Yeah, I mean, that's not what it was back then, but it gives you a day off, right? Like maybe before the Ten Commandments, everyone was working every day, 7 days a week, because they didn't have the weekday weekend system. You bring in the Sabbath. Like not only are the people who are in charge, your practical slave masters, going to take a break, but you get to take a break too on the Sabbath, and I don't mind that too much. It's still in the B tier because thou shalt not steal. I think that's flimsy. This is one of the ones. There are two commandments here that seem like they almost have the guise of keep your place, okay? Stay where you are, and that's the thou shalt not steal and covet thy neighbor's goods. But in general, you definitely shouldn't steal. I just wouldn't put this on the list of 10 Commandments. I'm the Lord thy God. I think that's just a little desperate, personally. Like that's their number one commandment. Just like I am God. You're telling me things to do, right? Not who you are. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. But putting that the D tier as well. Man's got to be able to take a little bit of criticism, okay? Got to be able to take a little bit of a joke. So don't be afraid of the YouTube comments, of getting some Reddit town votes, okay? You got to be ready for that. And then at the very bottom, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. It's just that's just a silly one, personally. You can't be jealous of someone else. It's once again you got to keep that feudal egg in place. If you are a serf, you got to be happy being a serf. In the end, I'd say that that's all of them. If the you shall not make false idols was here, that would be going straight in the F tier. But instead, they put thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife on this tier maker. I guess, maybe one day I should make this myself. Either way, tell me if you agree or disagree with me in the comments. I hope that you all have a great day. You deserve it. And I'll see you next time.